So I decided to go a little bit different of a direction with some of the reaction videos I was doing. The first one I did, as I mentioned before, was Star Trek Picard, which ended up being a complete failure because I couldn't get it past YouTube in order to actually post it. So I then went away from anything dealing with CBS and decided I would actually, focus on, Netflix related kinds of things. Because from what I've seen, quite a few people have actually been posting content from there, and there's been no actual problem in the past. So with my last one, which I did yesterday and then posted it, um, it was Iron Fist, and I did episode one of Iron Fist. Now, I saw episode one once before, but I haven't seen the rest of the actual series, and that's partly because I got really busy at the time. The first time I actually wanted to watch it, which is why I watched the first episode many eons ago. Anyway, so I'll probably get back to Iron Fist pretty soon. I'm just not really sure I want to stay with it because the show doesn't seem all that popular with anybody. So I'm not really sure any of the reviews will actually be watched by anybody. So what I decided to do today um, is kind of play around with some of the different media out there to see what kinds of things might be interesting to react to. Like I'll probably go into music videos later on, um, or specific music, and then I thought today I would actually go into a movie trailer for actually one of the computer games that was out there. And it happens to be a game I play quite a bit, and it's Final Fantasy XIV. Now, the interesting thing about this is um, their original release of this particular trailer, I've never seen. I've basically been playing the game since day one that I remember, and I've been off and on going back and forth to the game, and so I recently kind of started back up on it again. But again, I never really paid attention to any of the trailers. Just never saw a need for them. And so what I decided to do was actually look at the trailers themselves and see, how their cinematic approach was to what they what they did. Now, the game itself has been pretty awesome and pretty well designed in the story, so I would assume they did something with their trailers too, hopefully. And so we'll see if that actually happens in this um, reaction. See what kinds of things they did and see if it was entertaining and see what kinds of reactions I can actually get out of actually watching a game trailer. There's probably a couple of other games out there that I'll probably do the trailers for as well. Or not just the trailers, but they're actual movies. And there's been a whole bunch of them done for like Star Wars: The Old Republic. I'll probably get back and get into those eventually. And then I'll just start looking at different games that I've never played before, and see what my reaction to those particular cinematics would be to see if it would actually cause somebody who's not even playing the game to be at all interested in playing it, in the future or going forward. Might even cause me to start playing one of them. So anyway, what I'm going to do is today we're going to look at the first trailer that they did for Final Fantasy XIV. Now, Final Fantasy XIV has kind of an interesting history to it, whereas the game was originally released and it didn't do well because they had so many problems with it, from what I understand. I wasn't even part of the playing population at that particular time. I came much later, but my understanding was they they realized the game was not working. They didn't have everything set up the way it was supposed to, and customers were really just pissed. They didn't like the game at all, and so what they did is they took the game down and then fixed it and basically re-released it. Now there may have been a tie-in with Final Fantasy XI. I'm not exactly sure how this worked out. Like that may have been the original. I'm still a little confused on how that whole kind of thing works. So if you actually know, comments in the or making a comment below would actually kind of help me kind of figure out, what happened in the solutions to solve this. But what they did is they took the game back under advisement. The developers reworked the game completely, and then they re-released the game called A Realm Reborn. So Final Fantasy XIV, A Realm Reborn. And they literally rebuilt Final Fantasy XIV to a completely different world. And it was such an overwhelming response that, it's still possibly the first or second most popular MMO on the market. It's really hard to still compete against World of Warcraft, but it's huge and it's still doing really, really well. And one of the positive things of Final Fantasy XIV is that they do a lot of work to maintain it and to update it. So people aren't just constantly going, okay, is this game just on, life support? It's not. It's a really, really vibrant game with a lot of people playing it. So, like I said, I thought I would go into this particular trailer and kind of see, what they did well, what they didn't do well, and if it even makes sense. Because one of the problems with a lot of Japanese properties that I've run into in the past is there's an old South Park episode that, I'm not saying it's a Japanese property, but it basically ridicules and spoofs the whole idea of Japanese drama or Japanese anime and whatever it is. And it's to where basically the kids are playing some game and it makes absolutely no sense whatsoever because they don't explain anything and it just goes nuts. So anyway, it's kind of how a lot of the Japanese properties have actually been when they're translated to the Western audience. So anyway, hopefully that's not what it is. Hopefully it's actually something that you look at and you go, wow, that's interesting. I want to know more. Because if that's what it does, then that's the thing that causes people to go, I'll buy it, or I'll play it, and then look at it and see if it's worth buying. Because the biggest problem these MMO markets have is not just getting somebody interested, but maintaining that interest once they've got them. Because if they don't hook them, they basically don't get them to stay. If they don't get them to stay, they've got no market. So anyway, I'm going to look at Final Fantasy XIV, Realm Reborn, the opening trailer. So here we go.
Hear, feel, think. The power to banish the darkness dwelleth in the crystals of light. Journey forth and lay claim to them. The outcome of this battle was long since decided. My name is Kane Senna, and it is my solemn charge to watch over all who call Britannia home.
Glory to the Sultana! We are graced this day by the presence of a hero to Uldar.
Brave souls are few and far between in these times. I count my blessings when I find one.
This is one of the crystals of light by the Navigator. If you are to survive, your steel must needs speak for you. Heed well her words, adventurer, for it is Hydaelyn herself who speaks.
Eorzea, a blighted realm, riddled with false gods. Twice now it has eluded the Empire's grasp. And for this failure,
an interesting thing is the most of the cutscenes that we're actually seeing here, at least from what I can gather, come from within the game itself, which is kind of rare when a trailer for a game actually does that. Because a lot of times the biggest complaint that students that customers have, or potential customers have, is that a game offers a trailer that's basically something that was CGI created outside of the game, but you never actually see it in the game itself. This is really interesting because what I'm seeing is a lot of this, material I've kind of seen in the game itself, and some of it I haven't, which just could mean I haven't gone that far in progression, although I've gone pretty far in this game. Which makes me wonder, how much they kept in the game and how much they, basically kind of went alongside the game, such as creating alternative cutscenes that they never actually used in the game itself. So I'm not really sure what the answers are on that particular thing. But like if you ever watch a World of Warcraft cinematic, they're not scenes from the game itself. They're basically movies that they've put together that kind of highlight the story of what they're actually trying to share, which can quite often be really confusing. But it literally has no gameplay based on it whatsoever. So this is kind of unique, and I kind of like that, and I'm really anxious to see if, it keeps going that way.
the realm has sunk deeper into depravity. It is twisted beyond all reckoning, rotten nigh to the core. Yet it must be saved.
Garland. Soon you will be made to know the true power of Magitech.
So you're the adventurer of whom I've heard so much. Have you ever had the sensation of being pulled away from reality?
Brother, are you certain this course is best?
Remembrance will yield no remedy. If our world is to heal, we must put the horrors of the calamity behind us.
Why do you not tremble at my might? Why do you not beg for mercy? Why do you not die?
Ah, Sid, my boy, you look well for one who has forsaken kin and country. I wonder what else you will forsake before the day is done.
What in the seven hells?
It is only right that I should take your realm, but none among you has the power to stop me!
The salve will serve not only to close up our present wounds, but prevent old ones from opening anew.
Yeah, the interesting part is almost all of that I saw in the cinematic trailer comes from the game itself, which is, like I said, it's a rarity in these types of games, especially with cinematics. Because the whole idea is to sell you on how great the graphics could be. At least that's what most MMOs do. So what they'll do is, they'll hire a team that makes really impressive graphics that are, groundbreaking and pretty much cutting edge. And so you see that and you go, oh wow, this game looks awesome. I can't wait to play it. Then you start the game up and it looks completely different than what you actually see in the cinematics. This is kind of nice because I've seen quite a few of these cinematics here and there in the actual story itself. So I was kind of like smiling, thinking to myself, oh, I know exactly what that situation is. Like some of the bosses that they were actually, having you fight at that moment or that you see being fought, they're real bosses, and those are real screenshots, not screenshots, but captures of the actual gameplay footage of actually fighting them, which I've seen quite a few times, and it's pretty interesting when you see that and then you realize they're selling you what's actually in the game, and that's kind of nice. Like I said, not a lot of games actually do that, so what it shows is straight out honesty. Could also have been laziness, like they didn't want to put together the money to create, anything additional. But I don't think that's the case. I mean, these were really good scenes. So I mean, I could see them, studio heads probably sitting there going, why would I, create new stuff, hire a brand new team to do other things, or even the team I have, when I've got stuff already here available. And that's what they've actually used. So it'll be interesting to see what kinds of things they did with like future content, for the future trailers and all that, to see if that's kind of how the direction they went, or if they kind of moved towards the World of Warcraft model of where they basically, created a team just to create cinematics. And if that's the case, not the worst thing in the world, but again, I really like what they did with this. So anyway, so that's my my reaction to the Final Fantasy A Realm Reborn. Basically, it was the launch trailer. So this is what they came out with, and I'm pretty impressed and happy with what they actually did. Like I said, it's my first time actually seeing the trailer, so I had no idea what to actually expect. But I'm actually pretty happy with what I actually received as a result. Anyway, so have fun, thanks, and thanks for watching. Leave a like, comment, let me know you're watching these things, because otherwise I'm making them for the ether.